Okay, it is 6:30, February, I apologize, March 11th. Are we live? Thinking that.
Let me double check on my phone, but I believe so.
Okay, now it's timing. So, okay, all right, so it's 6:30, March 11th. We're going to open this judiciary meeting, and we'll be discussing the rules of Nelsonville City Council and Code of Conduct. Elizabeth has shared with all council members the document that we've kind of talked about and come up with. I know that Carla has some questions, but no one else, as far as I know, responded to anything, correct?
Nope.
Okay, so here's a couple of questions I had. So in Section 5B, when it's talking about ordinance, resolutions, motions, and contracts, D is the actions by ordinance or resolution. When it talks about results and a tie, was that taken directly out of the?
Yeah, I think so.
Out of the chart, okay.
Or out of the previous council rule.
Okay. Because in this one, I just questioned whether or not we should maintain what the charter states about a tie. I know this is not charter.
I don't think it's charter. I believe that is from the previous code of conduct.
Okay.
Or council rules, rather. Council rules.
Council rules. And that's where I was kind of like, well, this is not necessarily a formal ordinance necessarily that we would be utilizing, but as far as the charter is concerned, typically the president breaks the tie. That's why I wasn't sure if we should follow that or what your thoughts were on that.
Typically, right, we're a body of 7 people. A tie shouldn't really be an issue.
Sure.
So this could come into play now because we are currently at a body of 6.
Correct.
However, if you look at like just following standard Robert's Rules of Order, says, let's say we pass these rules, as a motion, and then we come up into a situation where we have this, we could motion to, suspend this rule as part of that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what my thought was, just wanted to clarify that and see if that's something we want to maintain or if that's something we wanted to follow the charter guidelines there.
Well, I think that stands for what it is though, right? If anything would result in a tie, it doesn't pass, which is really all this is saying.
Yes.
If it doesn't result in a tie, status quo, stays, or the ordinance,
well, that's
is removed from the agenda without prejudice, meaning it can be reintroduced at another time when either more information is available so that an alternative vote outcome might happen, or there's an odd number of people.
Right. Well, and honestly though, if it's pertaining to ordinances resolution, that's already dictated by the charter. But this is, you're here, if I'm understanding this correctly, this is more something administratively that we would be trying to.
Right, but also I don't know that resolutions are covered in the charter.
I'm pretty sure resolutions and ordinances follow the same way as far as.
Yeah.
But resolutions are not legislation, so, they're not a law. So, and typically resolutions, most people there wouldn't be a tie. No one would vote down a resolution, I don't think, because normally they're a recognition of something. So, okay, I think that's fine, especially if it's only administrative, type things that we're looking at and not ordinances such. Okay, so I had a question on 7D. I think I talked a little briefly about the last meeting, as far as closing debate. I love this idea, actually. The question I have is, we're going to vote to close the debate, but I'm questioning, because if we have a motion already, say, to adopt, or there's already a previous motion on there, and then we're trying to motion to close the debate, we really need to there's already a motion on the floor, we have to follow that.
So-
So how would that work in this instance, do you think?
Oh, well, so kind of separate things, right? So a motion to close a debate is like a motion within the motion. So let's say we've made a motion to adopt, or, you know, we're in the second reading of an ordinance,
Right.
for example.
And we come to discussion.
And we're coming to discussion. And the discussion is just
Going on.
going on and on. Then somebody can make a motion to end debate, which then ceases all existing comment
Conversation.
and conversation at that point. Assuming that every single person has at least gotten to speak to it one time, right?
Mhm.
Yes,
Typically, usually, Tony, your president council will stop debate once it's at a certain time
Mhm.
and move for the motion to be.
Especially for
Voted
like
on.
circling, you know, we're
Yeah.
not really.
so, so to end the debate, you just, you know, you don't interrupt, you're not interrupting whoever's speaking. So like if Dan's, you know, making a point about an ordinance, you know, I can't just like in the middle of Dan's speech say, you know, motion to end the debate. I have to wait till he's done. Then we can move to end the debate. And it's an up and down, yes or no vote. And then if it passes, debate's ended and the motion or the ordinance goes to a vote.
Yeah, and it's always, you can always, reopen it at any point, it looks like, which is great. I think that's a nice.
Again,
feature,
by
too, so.
majority vote. Yeah.
Which is how it really should
So
be.
you can overrule the chair. It was either a vote of 4 or 5.
To overrule the chair for.
So in other words, if, let's say Tony says, let's move on. Somebody can motion to overrule the chair, as long as they have 4 votes, do
To continue the.
To continue
it,
debate.
to continue the debate or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just.
I mean, hopefully the chair wouldn't prematurely end debate if
Right.
there was
Correct, yeah.
conversation happening.
Yeah,
I think this is more about,
Okay.
you know, it,
Point of order?
you know, it's just like going on and on and,
correct,
you
yeah,
know.
that's what I was thinking too, dragging it on.
And especially when everything's becoming redundant, right?
Correct,
Everything's been
yep.
said, and then it's like, you know, you wanna
There's
say
new-
it
there's
again,
new
and,
Yep.
and it's like, you know, somebody wants to say it 20 times because maybe they feel like they're not getting the feedback they want, like, it's not gonna go the way they want, so they wanna keep
Keep prolonging
it going, yeah.
Okay, so I only had 2 more items
Uh-huh.
then. So another item I had was, I thought we had discussed, social media, when we were talking about.
We did, and Becky sent me well, what she sent me though wasn't, what she sent me was the, like the employee handbook,
Mhm.
and it talks about, but what that mostly talks about is like not using social media while at work.
Doesn't even really apply to.
It's
most
not
of us.
applicable to
Oh, okay,
us
so,
at all.
so do we not, I thought we had a stronger social media.
Yeah, I thought one had been
Oh,
developed
okay, we haven't
too.
redone ours.
No,
Okay.
I thought with the thing with the police department that, we had a new social media,
Are you talking about the,
not talking about that, yeah,
as far as citywide, I don't know if one.
okay,
They have one in their SOPs, the police
Mhm.
department specific does, and I know Harry has one specific.
Okay.
But, as far as citywide, not that I'm aware of.
yeah. 'Cause I feel like what's in the employee handbook is really not applicable to us,
Okay.
because it's more about not using city computers to be on social media, not using, you know, not doing that.
Well, I think I think some of the, you know, we talk about in public meetings and encounters,
Mhm.
we talk about private meetings and encounters, interactions with city employees. I really think that even though the social media can be implied in A and B there as far as public meetings and private, I think that it should be at least mentioned. I was gonna say just
Add a D?
adhere to the, you know, social media policy of the city, but if we don't really have a strong one there, then.
Okay, so what if we add D there and say on social media?
Mhm.
And then again, just kind of similar, right? Be professional,
Correct.
don't disclose confidential city information or city, business.
Yeah, business.
And maybe should refrain from making derogatory
Sure.
remarks,
Yeah,
Correct.
don't,
I was thinking about that too, so.
because that was one of my two.
remarks. Yeah, you're gonna.
Yep, yep.
Okay, there we go.
Oh.
Oh.
Sorry about that.
I think we
I
did it at
guess
the same time.
All right, go ahead.
That's all right. No, okay.
We're both
Don't make
trying to do
derogatory
something.
remarks about,
Well,
or just, period, don't make derogatory
yes,
remarks.
Remarks, correct, yeah, because it's regardless of the
Be
subject.
respectful
We're gonna wait.
of all persons, all persons and their, opinions.
Mhm, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's important, because that's part of the reason why I think we're trying to accomplish this as well.
Mhm.
Because, as an elected official, you are,
Well,
you
it
are
is
gonna be held to a
partially,
little bit, higher standard there, but at the same time, you are, representing the constituents of the city, and so, and on social media, people from outside the city see this, and, plus. other
well, and it
citizens.
is partially what led us to have this conversation
Yeah, true. It
in
is.
general.
So that's great. And then the only other thing that I had was, I think that at the bottom of this document, there should be, a signature
Yeah,
line.
did you see that? So I added that under sanctions A. I just don't have that like in here yet.
Oh, okay.
Council members who do not sign an acknowledgement of the code of,
Okay,
so
yeah,
there
I
will
read
be an
that.
acknowledgement that you have to sign. Council members, also board and commission members, will also be subject to the same code of conduct. So that would be like planning commission, the civil service commission, what other commissions we have?
Rec board,
Then, yeah.
all those different.
That you'll be asked to do that. So if, basically what it says, if council members who don't sign it can be made ineligible for committee assignments. If a board and commission member refuses to sign it, then they would be ineligible to serve on the board or commission. And then, down there, council members who intentionally and repeatedly do not follow proper conduct may be reprimanded or formally censored, lose seniority or committee assignments or other privileges afforded to council, and serious infractions could lead to other sanctions as deemed appropriate by council. Which,
Okay, so that's terrific. That answers all my questions. Ms. Grant? What
Yeah,
do
well,
you
you
have?
already answered the one with the social media.
Okay, perfect.
But the one I had, I'm probably just not understanding the way that it reads. It's E, I'm not sure, under
That's
2,
it.
maybe 2E, where it says a copy of each non-emergency or emergency ordinance or resolution shall be furnished to each council member not later than 72 hours before a vote may be called on the ordinance or resolution. Now, here's what I didn't understand. But only when required by a council member before the council takes action. I guess I don't understand that.
Question, okay.
Again, some of this was just copied over from the previous. A copy of each non-emergency or resolution shall be furnished to each council member, which is standard procedure. Before a vote may be called on.
Only when required by a council member.
Yeah,
what does that part mean?
I think that can be struck out
Yeah,
again.
but the 72 hours, though, that's the Wednesday, right?
Yeah, I just
that's
don't
what
Well,
I'm-
understand.
it's 72 hours, if the meeting's Monday, I think that's Friday. Technically, we're supposed to receive all this stuff on Friday before Monday's
Oh,
meeting.
gotcha, but do we,
So-
oh, that's, you're
I
right.
don't know, I count weekends for us because this is not a job, I mean, this is not
The
a, you know,
city goes on, yeah.
yeah. For us, 72 hours to me includes the weekend leading
It
up to the
does,
council
it always
meeting.
has, so.
Because we're not talking business days, business hours.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was thinking of
Yeah.
our deadline to get it to,
Cause if
here.
you're all in Nelsonville,
I am on,
you're 7/24.
that's right, I am.
Yeah. The only other one I still have highlighted, and again, this was taken from the previous rules or whatever procedures, was the method of voting, which is that the presiding officer voting last.
Yeah.
Which we don't do. We do the round robin-y kind of vote thing, right? Where if you're the first vote on this one, you're the last vote on the next one. But according to the rules, before it was that the presiding officer, which would be Tony, the president, would always vote last. So she would skip him, go around, and then always end, or,
I think if that's not in the charter, then I think we just.
okay,
strike that
yeah,
one.
again, that was just in the previous rules. So,
What else did you have there?
and then there where it says the clerk, oh, I think that can be fine, because it's the clerk or the designee, so it can be, so it could be Susan or whoever is the clerk or the council president announces the result of the vote. If that makes sense.
Okay.
The only other thing that we did talk about before was the agenda and moving citizens' comments, which I did when we had that last meeting, but I don't know that we actually agreed upon it. I had a note in here about it, before I came tonight. So it would go call to order, pledge, prayer, roll call, meetings, then citizens' comments. Then we get into really the reporting things, right? So then the auditor, the treasurer, the mayor's court report. I would actually then move the business and organizational comments up there too. And then it just goes business, it's all like, all the business stuff happens, right? So comments at the front end, then the business. Does that make sense?
One suggestion that was also given to me was just at the very end, after all the ordinances have been read, and good of the order, actually, after good of the order. Or after my report, before good of order.
Oh, then have citizens' comments?
It was a recommendation.
It's just a lot of people, like, let's say someday in the far, far away future, we have people here again for meetings and they want to make comments and they might not want to stick around until after we have a 2-hour-long executive session.
Right, yeah.
To make a, so I think that's always why they're kind of front loaded.
Right, I was thinking before executive session, so
Okay.
between city manager report and go to the order or whatever.
So point of order, Mr. Chair. Okay. So, so the citizens' comments in the beginning is for, they can basically comment about anything.
Mhm.
So, after each ordinance is read on second reading only, then, citizens can comment or first, and then council discussion, and then move on to.
Yes, before we
I don't
vote.
know if I agree with the whole comments at the end of council meeting.
Yeah, I don't really either. One of the reasons I like them at the beginning is it might be something that we can address during the meeting or refer to committee. And if we're talking, you know what I mean? Like, because then we go to, let's say, our committee reports, then we can say, well, John Smith brought up the issue with, the shelter house at the park. Let's refer that to Parks and Rec from there, and it's kind of handled.
I think also, I think they should be towards the beginning of the meeting. I think it will allow us to have more efficient, more effective meetings if they're in the beginning. Or some of our, like you said, some of our meetings already get long enough, so why drag it out? So I think having the comments towards the beginning of the meeting would be better. And then some people might have to make a comment and then depart. So,
I guess my question there should it be, after approval, should it go roll call, approval of minutes, then comments, or should it be roll call, comments, then we get down to business, which we start with approval of minutes and start doing business, like from then?
I would say before approval of the minutes. I don't
Okay.
think it matters if we, approve the minutes beforehand. I don't.
No.
Because if they have a comment on the minutes from the previous meeting, they're having a comment on the previous meeting to begin with. So I don't think it's gonna.
Right.
So,
Which would be better to come before we voted on them
correct.
anyway.
Yeah. So,
No, those are.
so I think that's good right there, putting it fifth right after the roll call. And then that allows people, because some of that, I think in the past too, when we've had people comment and we would say, oh, we're gonna address that actually in the city manager's report today, or something, it may be addressed, later on in the meeting anyway.
Scott, right now, does it go like, I think it works like this, that it's alternating, so it's like police at this meeting, fire at the next meeting.
So
And then
that,
is it then code? So is it like every 3? So it'd be like police, fire, then code, then police, fire, code,
I was
or?
going to add Jason, I
Yeah,
thought.
Yeah,
talked
so
about
I
that.
guess that was,
Mhm.
and that was
So
why
that
I was
means
asking
put-
that, like, cause I feel like in the past, we added Becky
we added her into the mix.
into well, but I mean like with police or with fire, what I was wondering is, should it be like police?
code.
Like this week, it was, let's say it was police, next council meeting, so it would be like a 4-week cycle.
Wait, every other week, right, if we got.
Or-
So you'd be 2 months before you. heard
Right,
the next
or,
one.
okay, so that's what I'm asking, do we
So it
wanna
should
do
be
it that
piggyback.
way?
It should be
Or do we
piggyback.
want it to be, police and code, fire and service?
That's how I think it should be.
I would like for you guys to get at least once a month update from
Okay.
all departments, because
Yes.
there's so much happening.
Mhm.
And I want you guys to stay as informed as possible, of course, with the citizens at home
I
as
think
well.
I think we could group the fire and the code in the same.
Point of order. Okay, so
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, we had a speaker on the floor.
So it's
you
really,
didn't
that's really
ask
just
for
using point of
permission to
order,
speak,
but.
so.
And it
So-
wasn't before.
So police and, what are we calling Jason's department now, service or
Well,
service?
Utilities.
Actually,
Utilities?
police and code are probably better suited together because they,
Mhm.
the police department has to certify all her citations, and then
Okay.
utilities with fire.
So fire and, we're calling that utilities?
Yes.
So it would be police chief and code, or fire chief and utilities, and they report. Mayor's court every,
One at the end of the month, so.
or just monthly?
Yeah, so you
Okay.
typically it's at the end of the month with the treasurer's report
Okay.
and the,
So,
Auditors?
second meeting.
Second
Okay.
meeting, yeah.
Second meeting. of-
yes,
Okay,
last meeting of the month.
Okay.
So typically it's with, and it's pretty simple now, she's got the program, she just pushes a button, prints it out, I've got copies I had to make for everybody, but. So,
should, not that I don't think it matters, should those go before, like, auditor and treasurer?
well,
Police and fire, or, I mean, should those people be reporting before auditor and treasurer report? I'm just thinking efficiency, and if they need to get, like, out to a call or something, like,
well, so
not,
it's the chiefs that are doing your.
Yeah.
Yeah.
department heads.
Whatever we decide, I think that they should be right before our committee discussions though, because often, well, I feel like often from those, we are prompted to potentially have to schedule another meeting to
Right.
discuss something. So,
Okay. Well, then, I think we should leave it like as it is then, so, call to order, pledge, prayer, roll call, citizens comments, business and organization comments, approval of minutes, auditor, treasurer, mayor's court at the end of, if it's the end of the month, or the second meeting of the month, mayor's court report. And then
Well,
alternating,
yeah,
oh,
auditor and treasurer is also at the last meeting of the month.
that's true. And then alternating the police chief and code, or fire chief and utilities, then committees, then second readings, first readings, resolutions, city manager report, anything else, go to the order, executive session if needed.
We're not gonna alternate them, we're gonna, so code and police chief,
Together,
No,
Yeah,
no,
whichever.
she means
I'm
police and code.
police and code
And
are
we're gonna
group,
alternate to
fire
the
and
fire and
utilities
utilities.
are
that way you're here
this,
this month.
yeah.
Correct, yeah.
And I do plan on putting 5-minute time limits, 8-slide maximum.
Okay.
That's why you don't want barbers.
Mhm. Together.
Well, I was trying to stay fish out of the pain and misery.
Second meeting of the month, and then this is
We gotta sit through it,
also
you gotta sit through it.
second meeting of the month. Okay. Okay, I think that works, right?
Sure.
And then that as needed.
Okay.
It seems like a lot, but
No, it's
I-
really not that.
I think it's not, and I think it's setting up a schedule and making it a little more, and being more efficient with how it happens.
Ms. Grant, did you have, any more questions that
No, thank you, that was it.
you did? Okay.
I have
Mr. Sherman.
A question was, so are just citizens of Nelsonville allowed to comment on the citizens? comments?
So it does say citizens' comments, so, and when you comment, you're supposed to give your name, your address, which would be a citizen, like
Mhm. Citizens of
a
Nelsonville.
citizen of Nelsonville, and then you would give your comment. So I don't think, honestly, I don't think that other comments should be heard.
I don't
Um,
think we're allowed, I think because we're a public body, I'm not sure we can,
I don't know about that, because it's citizens' comments, so try and go down to Athens City Council and not be an
Well-
Athens City
But-
resident. And-
I know people that do, right? So people who are involved with,
Okay, so that's
different things, so like social justice or whatever.
business and
That would
organization.
fall
Okay.
under business and
Okay.
And then I'm
organization.
sure they're put on the agenda. What I'm saying is, as a Nelsonville citizen, you're not gonna go into Athens because they'll just toss you right out, and then the Athens City Council.
Right. So I think citizens' comments
Here we go.
is left up to citizens' comments only, and anyone who's not a citizen of Nelsonville,
Can schedule.
would be scheduled on there as business and organizational, because I'm sure there are people that are not residents of the city, but maybe be a stakeholder in the city in some
Right.
capacity, or work here, or, so they may have a question or comment, suggestion, and, I think they just need to be handled a little differently.
Right.
But I think if they're gonna comment, though, they should state their name and what their tie to Nelsonville would be, if it's not an address per se,
So
or it's a business.
I just Googled this,
Okay.
and actually a federal appeals court said that a city council may prohibit non-citizens from addressing city council, that they ruled that that was constitutional. So I think it's a good point, because I think especially in this virtual world with
Yeah.
Oh my
Facebook, we're
God.
getting a lot of, maybe noise from people who aren't really, aren't our constituents and aren't our citizens, and they're making comments and doing things.
And that's who we actually work.
And not that we don't want to hear from people if they have a genuine concern or whatever, but to Corey's point, if it is something and you feel like you need to address council, then you need to reach out to the clerk to request to be put on the agenda, which will then be reviewed by the council president to be determined if it's suitable for agenda, or maybe it's more suitable for a committee meeting.
Well, that
And-
formalizes the process versus it being,
Like free-for-all.
free-for-all currently.
Yeah, and I also think that we talked about that if we move to Teams or Zoom or YouTube Live or whatever it is that we end up going to, that, you know, they really are supposed to be providing Susan or the council clerk with their address to go in the minutes. So I think that's something, I don't know how we handle that, but I think if it's,
Well, I think honestly, if we're gonna set up a procedure for it, and if they're going to, request a comment to be read, then if it's not in the format of which it's supposed to be received, name, address, and then the comment, then perhaps it's just, it's not read.
Yeah.
Because, we don't necessarily know, we can't necessarily verify that it's an actual citizen's comment, so.
well, I think that's something else too, right? And I think that's something we need to think about again as we move forward to potentially leaving Facebook for these meetings to other things. Are we actually going to allow comment versus chat?
Well, we talked about that a little bit, and I think if we went to like a Zoom or one of the other platforms, I think that they have the ability to comment,
They would.
but they would have, they would be muted, and they wouldn't be allowed to comment and make chatter unless, they requested it, and then we could address them, and then they can make their comment.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like if we move to Zoom or Teams or YouTube Live or whatever, then Scott as the controller of that platform will be able to mute everybody on the call. And then like there's, the raise the hand feature, like when it's public comment time. What I'm saying is, would we really, I mean, I think this like let people comment versus just letting people be keyboard, warriors and type up
No, I think we.
their comments.
I think we would. Can you, I don't know, Teams or Zoom, can you type in the chat
Mhm.
also? Oh,
Yep.
okay, well,
Yep.
and we have the ability to shut that off?
And YouTube Live, yep,
Then I would
Yep.
say it would be shut off. There wouldn't be any comment. Unless they
Yeah.
raised their hand and then spoke.
yeah. That's true, because you can actually control, as the facilitator on those things, like if you're the one that starts the meeting, you can, prohibit chat from happening. So, I think that could be good too.
Okay. Well, it is 7:00.
Okay.
I know we have another meeting. Are there any final comments then?
I don't think so. So I think if, for those who provide comment, the idea is that at our next council meeting, which is,
Week from Monday.
the
Monday's the
22nd,
15th.
that we will, introduce this as a motion for approval and, for the whole body, and provide, copies for that, and as well as have the, signature, which then the clerk will, I guess, collect and keep in the,
In the file.
in the council office.
Approve it first and then we can get it.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and then we can do that.
Okay,
So-
yep, that sounds good. So
And
I'm,
then-
I'm fine with taking it to full council then for the next meeting.
Right, and for the citizens who've been asking, at that point, we will make it available and put it on the website for, transparency's sake.
All right, I'm fine with that. Okay. Doesn't appear we have any other comments. So at this point, we'll adjourn our judiciary meeting at 7:02. All right, everybody, have a good night.